For me and you, I want you, I love you. Can I touch you, I rub, let me love you. Put my dreams to the side only cause I trust you. Girl, I trust you, I love you, won't judge you.
What's going on? It's Velocity back. A little bit more chill day here. We're here to talk about some finals predictions. Excuse me. Where we believe that the series is going to go and how it's going to end. Probably looking at around a 10-ish to 15-minute video here as we discuss our viewpoints here and roster-wise where we stand in terms of who we favor and who we think is not going to win. Did you want to say anything before we begin?
Yeah, sup everyone. Just ready to get right on into it. Talk about what's going to be a very interesting NBA Finals matchup.
So, for those of you that are going to watch 5 seconds of this video, I will try to make it as easy as possible for you if you just start watching. I have the Warriors in 6. Now, for the people who actually care about what I'm about to say, there's some reasoning to it. So, obviously, the biggest thing I have in terms of NBA Finals, and I think this is a big thing in general when it comes to NBA Finals with any team, is that I think experience is important. So, to have been in the finals before, I think is important, but also to be almost a full-time playoff team throughout your entire career, I think is important too, for the Warriors. So, in terms of like Steph, Draymond, and Clay, they've been in the playoffs for almost their entire career, and they've been winning in the playoffs almost every year. The Celtics have made the playoffs for a majority of their years that they've been together, but they've been eliminated pretty quickly in a majority of their years. Now moving on to like lining it up against star power and stuff. I think it's pretty simple. The two main stars of the series are going to be Jason Tatum and Steph Curry. When we go down the comparisons, obviously they're completely different positions, so they don't really compare necessarily. But I'm going to say that Steph is the better player, and I think that is partially due to him being a veteran, but also better three-point. I mean, his three-point shooting is going to be a huge difference in this series, and he's just been here before. So, coming down to the second star, I think this is where it gets interesting. We have Jaylen Brown and we have Klay Thompson. I would like to believe that Jaylen Brown is equivalent, if not better, than Klay Thompson. Just because I think he's a young player, but he's already very good. And I think Klay is great too, but I think he's easily the Robin between him and Steph. Whereas I think Jaylen Brown could only get better now, and I think that they're kind of at a similar terms of skill, whether it be, different. Sorry, trying to think of the best words here, but different styles of play, but similar in terms of skill. Like I think they're both equally as skilled, but Jaylen Brown's younger, so I think he can only get better. Whereas Klay's he's like what, late 20s, early 30s. So
Yeah, I think he's about 30 now.
yeah, so I feel like he's kind of at his peak already. But this is kind of where everything falls apart for. Well, maybe not. Because I
actually
think
32.
Oh wow, so he's older than I thought. But so that's obviously the big two people on each side that we're going to be talking about the most. But then you have some really interesting comparisons. Like you have Marcus Smart and Andrew Wiggins as probably the third option for both teams. I personally think Marcus Smart's a little bit better than Andrew Wiggins. I know Andrew Wiggins did make the All-Star game, but please don't hold that over me. I'm an Andrew Wiggins fan. But I think Marcus Smart defensively contributes a lot to his team. The ability to draw charges, and I think he has good ball movement and can find open shots on offense for the Celtics. I think their size is going to be. I think Draymond's going to be a big factor for the Warriors, but I think in terms of the Celtics big men, I think the Celtics have better bigs. Like Al Horford, Robert Williams, I think those two are going to be better than Kevin Looney and Draymond. But Draymond, because I don't really consider Draymond to be a full-on big man. He's, what, 6'7"?
Yep.
So I don't know. I think that might be a factor, but I think Draymond's still going to be a major contributor. I don't think he's going to be like a liability or anything, but I do think that the Celtics should win the rebounding game. We'll see how Kevin Looney comes out, but I mean Williams and Horford are great rebounders, so I don't know. I would also like to see who Grant Williams guards. I'm assuming it's going to probably be Andrew Wiggins. I don't think they're going to put him on Steph or Clay. It's just I don't know. For his defensive abilities, it's a shame that he's only going to be guarding Wiggins. Marcus Smart versus Steph, though, should be fun. Um, one of the best defending point guards. D1 Defensive Player of the Year, too, if I'm not mistaken. Marcus
Yep.
Smart. Should have handed that to Drew Holiday. But guarding Steph, that'll be a tough matchup. We'll see how he does. I think it's going to be tough for Steph, and I will say, I have no clue who's going to win Finals MVP. I don't think it's guaranteed to be Steph because I don't think he's going to be lights out, especially with Marcus Smart guarding him. But I do think the Warriors are the better team. And I'm sorry for coming out with all these takes. Slowly, it's just I have to think in my head of where these teams are at and what they're going to do best. The floor is yours. I probably have some stuff I want to add, but I've been talking a bit. So
For this series, I have. Well, actually, I think we should. Before I go, I think you should also add. Which team are you rooting for? Like you gave who you predict, but who do you want to win?
probably the Warriors.
Okay.
I don't hate the Celtics as much as some people do, but at the same time, I think it would be a good comeback story, especially for Clay. And I think that outside of Steph, there's a lot of people on that team who don't get enough credit.
Okay. Well, me, I am rooting for the Celtics. Hey, you know what? It makes their velocity even better. We're not supposed. We need to be opposing each other, and I have the Celtics winning in 7 games. But I think it's going to be like super close. I feel like every single one of these games are going to be super close. Now, I think the Celtics, their road to the finals was tougher than the Warriors. Overall, I'll say the exception I'll give the Warriors was against the Memphis Grizzlies, of course, with that level of physicality, because that was very intense. But with this Celtics team, it's going to be a different level of that kind of physicality with better athletes. These guys, they're young, just like that Grizzlies team. So they had the energy to run rings and run circles around and with the Warriors and chase them around and also kill on offense. Thing is, they're bigger, they're stronger, they're more mature, and they're in their physical primes and the prime of their skills as well. And like overall, the offense is more like, the talent is just overall better, like individually. And like again, they played 2 Game 7 series back to back against the defending champs Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah, they didn't have Chris Middleton, but it was still pretty competitive. I mean, going up against Giannis, like that's a tough challenge for anyone. And then a phenomenal series in which they sent my Miami Heat home, which I'm still very upset about, but it's an amazing series to watch. But now, as far as the matchups go, as you said, that like in terms of like the stars, we're not going to see too much head-to-head matchups because of the different positions. I think there's a huge advantage to the Celtics because of this. When you have 2 elite two-way wings in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, in a way, this is what we were kind of hoping or what we expected to see from Kawhi Leonard and Paul George in the first go-round together. When like the small forward position, I always tell people, I've told F many times, my favorite position on the basketball court because it's the position that demands the most versatility, and you can expect it. Like if you look at any of the great small forwards in NBA history on both ends, these guys, Jason Tatum is standing at like 6'9", Jaylen Brown like 6'7", 6'8". They can defensively, they can practically switch on to everybody. They're big, they're strong, they're super athletic, especially Brown. They're long, and In terms of scoring, these both of them, they can go out there and go drop 40 points by creating shots off the dribble on their own by attacking the basket and hitting threes. And especially Jalen Brown, like he stepped up his 3-point shooting a lot. Um, and we're seeing better playmaking from Jason Tatum too this year, which is really impressive. And then thinking about like some of the other role players, like as you said, Marcus Smart is definitely going to be the one antagonizing Steph Curry. I mean, if Steph hated Dylan Brooks sticking him, this is going to be a different beast. But what's incredible is that with the Celtics team, is how deep they go. When the next unit comes in, like correct me if I'm wrong. Jordan, I keep forgetting like what the Warriors lineup looks like. The Jordan Poole like come off the bench as a 6-man, or do they start him like now that Clay's back?
He comes off the bench.
He comes off the bench. Okay. Normally that's usually like a big like X factor for the Warriors. When Poole comes off the bench, you just have a young, more athletic Steph 2.0 out there. But another person who's a great defender, but maybe not necessarily a much of a threat offensively, is Derek White on the bench for the Celtics. Like in that Heat series, like he kept up the same energy defensively that Marcus Smart did. So he's gonna be a second Poole a lot. So this defense is gonna be like tough deal with. A Grant Williams, as you said, another great defender and a streaky shooter. Like he has nights where he gets hot. I mean, the hottest night we saw was against the Milwaukee Bucks. And then Al Horford, again, great defender, rebounder, high basketball IQ, and he's a big man who'll stretch the floor. So when he's playing center, he's gonna force like a guy like the center, Kevon Looney, to have to step out into the perimeter. And if he's doing that, that's gonna open up more lanes for guys like Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown to attack the rim. And Kevon Looney is not like that imposing pure center. He's really more of a power forward build. I think he's like 6'9", 6'10", and Jason Tatum standing at like 6'9". So in a way, there's really not going to be much mismatches. Well, whatever mismatches there are is going to be in favor of the Celtics, I think. And I think another thing we got to point out too is like with the Warriors, their defense on the Celtics, Klay Thompson, like as you were saying, Jaylen Brown better. Like I think right now, Jaylen Brown is definitely better, like better all around as far as skill. Jaylen Brown is more skilled overall than Klay. Like obviously Klay had the 3-point shot, but offensively Brown being able to handle the ball better. He just had more moves and ability to create his own shot and a better passer, all of that. But also considering this is Klay's first year back after missing basketball for like two and a half years. Like, yeah, we seeing him like showing flashes of his old self. He's looking good out there on the court. But but against this kind of physicality, like how consistent will he be in this series? And I'm not even just thinking about offense. On defense, he's going to have between him and Andrew Wiggins, they're going to have their hands full guarding Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Like it's going to be like a huge pain for them. Like they're going to wear on Klay. So that's going to be really interesting to see.
Why don't we make a bet here? Okay.
Okay.
Now, normally the bet is dinner and like a beer, right? So that's usually like $20. I have a different idea. This one's more painful. So how about instead of using the $20 to buy the other person dinner, whoever loses has to wear a basketball shirt of a player of that person's choice of the winning bet. So
okay.
But you got to buy the shirt, but the shirt's usually going to be $20. So like for you, I know for a fact that you will have no problem finding that $20 Ben Simmons Sixers shirt. Like that's perfect for me. That's exactly what I would want. And I'm willing to take the L if I have to pay an extra $6 or $7 to wear a freaking Devin Booker shirt, because I know that's probably who you're going to say.
No, I'm actually going to leave that as a surprise for like when the time comes.
Okay.
But as for like that Ben Simmons shirt, believe it or not, that's really, I think you need to step up your game with that.
I'll find something more disrespectful.
Yeah.
We'll see. But okay. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Now I want to allude to the Sixers, or not. I'm sorry, not the Sixers. The Warriors and the Celtics a little bit as we kind of finish closing out this video. I want to add that when I mentioned veteran experience, what concerns me is you said that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum can drop 40, and they absolutely can. They can.
Yeah.
They can for sure. The question is, will they? So
That is true. But here's the thing with the Celtics, what we saw, unlike many teams who have guys that are capable of scoring like that, they don't necessarily need to win. Like they have the roster in terms of offense, but that aside, what really holds down the fort for them in these games is their defense. Against the Miami Heat, they really weren't that impressive offensively in the second half, but we saw what the defense was doing. So
I want to throw out there that I think the Celtics are better defenders, but I think out of the Warriors starting five, that there is 4 great defenders on that starting five.
Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, and Looney.
Yeah, I think Wiggins is a good defender too. So I'm not saying that he's going to hold like Tatum to like 15 points or anything, but I think that matchup, Wiggins' defense is going to be good enough where he's not going to get absolutely blown apart the entire game. But we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, he's gonna really get tested now. Cause remember who did we see him guard in the last round? It was Luka, and Luka's an incredible offensive weapon, but he's pretty slow in the feet.
I think for the Warriors to win, they need Steph to average 30 a game, around 30. Because I know he's been throwing a couple of those 20-point games out there, which is we need a little bit more than that. And then we need at least 15 a game from Wiggins. And then we need 15 to 20 from Clay, whatever he gives us from there. And then we need Jordan Poole at 10 plus every game.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. Oh, I was gonna say that too.
At
Remember,
least 10.
A lot of the dominance out of the Warriors this year has been from Jordan Poole's elite play. So he's another one that's untested in this moment.
But keep in mind that in most of their wins, it's either him with 30 or Clay with 30. They've alternated back and forth, so it's not the end of the world if he doesn't show up.
All I'm gonna say from now, at Game 6, because I think it's definitely gonna at least go to a Game 6. But Game 6, no matter what, the Warriors are gonna win that game. Game 6, and you and I both know why. Don't know why. Why that's Klay Thompson's favorite number, his favorite game, but
he's dropping 60.
Yeah, like man comes back from 2.5 years, that he comes back with Game 6 Klay still better than ever.
All right. So now that we're gonna wrap up this video, there's one question I want to end it on. And who's the Finals MVP prediction?
Well, since I have the Celtics winning, so I'm going to predict the Finals MVP will be Jason Tatum.
Okay, this is really tough for me because I think that there's 3 different players on the Warriors who can win MVP, and that's Steph, Clay, and Jordan Poole. I really do think Jordan Poole can win if he has one of those really big Finals performances off the bench every game.
I think if the Warriors win it all, they are definitely going to give it to Steph. I think part of that is because like people in the media pointing out that one hole in his resume, not having a single Finals MVP.
So what if Steph scores anywhere from 25 to 15 every single game, and Wiggins averages a consistent 20? And Tatum averages 24 for the series. Do you give it to Wiggins or do you give it to Steph?
I'll give it to Wiggins. I mean, he was holding it down on both ends.
I do think that Wiggins is in the conversation for MVP, and I know that sounds really crazy, but players who are less obscure have won MVP before, and all it takes is a great performance for 1 week.
But I'm predicting this. I predict that either Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, whoever's guarding him, I think they will lock
That's going to be
Wiggins
tough for
up.
him. That's going to be super tough for him. But
Yeah,
also, Wiggins is one of those guys who doesn't take the shot unless he absolutely should most of the time, unless he's like absolutely wide open. So I trust him to take smart shots because I think he's one of those people that's like, well, I have Steph and Clay on my team, so maybe I shouldn't shoot it. So I think he's only going to shoot it if he absolutely thinks he should. So we'll see.
Mhm.
We'll see.
Oh, do you think Draymond Green is going to get ejected from any of these games?
No, no, and I think Draymond Green is going to be a phenomenal asset in this playoff series.
He to be honest, he always is every time they get to the finals. Even
Yeah.
when we say Draymond, people, not us, say Draymond's wash. He always comes out big, especially when it's elimination time.
I will say this: keep an eye out for the potential of Draymond Green being switched on to Jason Tatum on a couple of screens and see how it plays out. Because I am curious, and I think that Draymond Green isn't necessarily faster because he's also way older, but I think that Draymond Green would not be the worst thing in the world to cover him every once in a while during the game.
Hmm.
That's all I got. How about you?
Yep, it's a call. Next time we talk to you guys, game one will be in the books.
All right. Without further ado, I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next week. Hope you enjoy sports, family, love, whatever you got going on. NBA Finals is coming at you. Also, the start of some hockey. If you watch that, some semifinals for the playoffs. New York Rangers are there. Keep an eye out on that. Other than that, hope you guys have a great week, and we will see you next time. Nailed it.
For me and you, I want you, I love you. Can I touch you, I rub, let me love you. Put my dreams to the side only cause I trust you. Girl, I trust you, I love you, won't judge you.